When the press first learnt about the Titanic disaster, rumours ran wild and they wanted to know the details about who survived, what happened, and who was to blame. But there was one story of a rumoured engagement between a famous tennis player and a socialite, which was revealed to the public months later. This couple was Karl Behr and Helen Moneypenny Newsome, and the couple's love story is similar to the story of Jack, Rose, and Ruth, Rose's mother, who didn't approve of her affair with Jack. Karl and Helen first met through Karl's sister, who was her best friend. Despite him studying at Yale University and her at Barcliff College in New York, the two connected like chalk and cheese. The match wasn't popular with Helen's mother, Sarah Maybelle Beckworth, who thought Karl wasn't good enough for her daughter. In early 1912, Sarah and her husband, Richard Leonard Beckworth, were touring Europe to break up the match. When Helen, Sarah and Richard boarded the Titanic at Southampton on the 10th of April, they unexpectedly were joined by Karl. Karl also wanted to travel to Europe, but only to pursue his courtship with Helen. There's no information on Sarah and Richard's thoughts on the sudden appearance, but it is noted that during the voyage, Karl's privacy was invaded when second-class passenger Kate Buss, who was a tennis fan, snuck into the first-class lounge to meet him. On the night of the sinking, Karl and Helen had a mishap in the bedroom, and an upset Helen ran away to the boat deck. After looking for her, Karl found Helen standing by the rail, feeling nervous. Helen was talking to Karl about how to convince her mother to approve of the relationship. Somehow, the couple made up and they returned to their cabins to retire. When Karl was getting undressed in his cabin, he felt a distant jar before he ran to find Helen, who was already awoken from the collision. The pair went to the upper deck where they noticed that the ship was listing to starboard. They returned to find Sarah and Richard and told them to put on warm clothing. Karl, Helen, Sarah and Richard assembled on the starboard boat deck. It was there that the party saw Captain Edward Smith, who instructed the party to put on their lifebelts. Later on, they found J. Bruce Ismay assisting the boarding of Lifeboat Number 3. After he assisted the boarding of Lifeboat 3, he allowed all members to board another lifeboat, Lifeboat Number 5. Hours later, when the occupants in Lifeboat Number 5 saw the Carpathia coming to the rescue and were rowing towards the steamer, Karl asked Helen for her hand in marriage. According to an account from the San Francisco Examiner, Karl was reported to have said these words to his beloved: "If we are saved, Helen, will you let me row by your side through life?" In response, Helen said yes, but by saying these words: "I didn't know until this dreadful night that you were also a hero. I would sail by your side through eternity." Helen and Karl were married on the 1st of March 1913 and were married for 36 years. After Karl's death in 1949, Helen went on to marry for a second time before she died in 1965.